What started as a simple nightclub raid turned into one of the biggest human trafficking discoveries in Texas.
The Arlington police say they shut down a human trafficking operation at a gentleman's club. 2 managers were arrested.
The FBI and Delta Force rescued the innocent and uncovered $1.2 billion in criminal money. At exactly 11:45 p.m., under the neon haze of Dallas, Texas, the night suddenly shattered. 1 second, Harry Hines Boulevard looked like any other busy nightlife strip. The next second, it exploded into a full-scale federal operation. Flashbangs went off, shouts filled the air, boots hit the pavement like thunder. Federal agents stormed a popular nightclub, and in just minutes, the building flipped from music and lights to chaos and cold reality. Inside, agents yelled, "Hands where we can see them!" And in the middle of that panic, 41 suspects were taken down, handcuffed and dragged out. But the real shock came moments later. Behind a locked storage room door, agents found bricks of cocaine and fentanyl stuffed inside speaker boxes and fake liquor crates. Cash, over $30,000, was hidden in the DJ booth. Laptops, passports, fake IDs, ledgers. It was clear this wasn't just a party place. It was the front door to something much darker. Then, agents discovered something worse than drugs or money. Inside tiny rooms behind staff-only doors, they found women, teenagers, and even children.
Employees at Chicas Locas were performing illegal sex acts on customers in exchange for money. And those proceeds then were distributed amongst managers at the business.
Some were barefoot. Some had raw marks on their wrists. Some could barely speak. A few were only 14 years old. ICE Homeland Security agents rushed the victims out first, covering them with jackets, whispering reassurances through their masks. The whole scene felt unreal. What looked glamorous on the outside had turned out to be a nightmare on the inside. And as the smoke cleared, every agent in that room realized the same thing. This raid was only the beginning. Because inside glowing phones left behind by traffickers, investigators found the new weapon of the cartel, digital lures. The cartel had gone online and was hunting victims through social media. Then came the ledgers. A thick notebook with coded names, ages, and prices. And every road in those ledgers pointed to one name, a ghost in the criminal underworld, Toro. Real name, Juan Carlos Sales Medina. But throughout the border region, people called him El Toro, the Bull. He had been deported 10 times, but somehow always came back within weeks. He looked like a businessman on paper. In reality, he was the mastermind behind a human trafficking empire stretching across states and across borders. Shell companies, nightclubs, tire shops, freight centers, real estate fronts. Everything tied back to him. But what terrified investigators wasn't just how large his network was, it was how organized it was. All planned with military-level precision, and then came the discovery that changed everything. Inside ICE's cyberforensics lab, encrypted cartel messages began to decode. One message said, "Blue Lantern approved. Proceed." Blue Lantern was the secret internal codename for an FBI tracking program. That meant someone inside the system was feeding the cartel federal information. Someone is helping Toro stay one step ahead. As agents tracked the money, things got even bigger. This was no small underground operation. This was a global machine. And the suffering at the bottom of it was happening right here in the United States. The report hit Washington, and the White House demanded answers, fast. And with that, Operation Night Vale was born. This wasn't going to be a normal FBI raid. The FBI brought in the hostage rescue team. ICE and Homeland Security brought intelligence and surveillance. DEA brought confirmation of drug movements. But the target was heavily armed, heavily guarded, and built like a fortress. That's when the call was made. Delta Force was joining the mission. The same elite unit sent to hunt global terrorists was now being deployed on US soil to save children trapped in cages.
But then also other people are being detained while we question them to see their participation or if they're a victim or if there's anything else that they want to share with us.
You could share a number how many of detainees at this point?
I don't have that. There's multiple people, yeah.
For the first time in years, America's most elite operators and federal law enforcement would move together as one unit under one flag. That night, the lights across the command center flickered as digital maps lit up the wall. Locations, heat signatures, security towers, and guard rotations. Toro's second compound had been found, a fortified warehouse in southern Dallas. Hostages were inside, dozens of them. Some children were taken from the nightclub days earlier. The mission brief was simple: no victims left behind. Capture Toro alive if possible. Neutralize any threats. Everything was set. Execution of Operation Nightvale. At 2:15 a.m., the command came through. Execute Nightvale. 3 MH-60 Blackhawks roared across the industrial zone, running dark. On the ground, armored convoys rolled forward silently. Inside the lead helicopter, Delta operators checked their weapons. Calm, focused, their faces painted in matte black. As they approached the compound, thermal scans revealed clusters of armed guards and a separate heat signature group, hostages, locked away in the far west corner. At 2:29 a.m., the first team fast roped down. Boots hit the gravel, and the night exploded again. Flashbangs detonated, gunfire erupted, sparks flew off steel doors. Delta operators swept corners with clean, controlled bursts. FBI teams followed close behind, securing rooms and pulling civilians out. Inside one locked room, agents found 15 captives, 6 of them children, the youngest girl around 12 years old. Delta operators carried her out under heavy fire. Cartel gunmen fired from the mezzanine. One fired a burst from an AK-47. A Delta marksman dropped him instantly. As teams pushed deeper, they found computers, ledgers, passports, and duffel bags stuffed with cash. Millions. Then came the final confrontation. In a smoke-filled hallway, behind a reinforced steel door, stood Toro, holding a young woman as a human shield. He screamed, "You can't stop it! There are hundreds of me!" Before he could pull the trigger, a Delta sniper fired a single surgical shot. The hostage dropped unharmed. Toro collapsed. Target secured. Outside, medics treated victims. Evidence was collected. Suspects were loaded into armored vans. By 4 a.m., the entire operation was over. 28 suspects arrested. 4 neutralized. Every hostage was rescued alive. It was one of the most successful joint rescue missions in modern American history. But it didn't feel like victory inside the command center. There was only heavy silence, the kind that follows trauma, relief, and exhaustion. An ICE commander watched a helicopter lift off with the rescued children and said quietly, "This is why we fight. This is what America protects." News crews captured the aftermath. Armored vehicles, children wrapped in blankets, agents covered in dust and sweat. Across Dallas, families hugged their children tighter, but investigators were not done. Inside the warehouse, under a broken desk, a single phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a final message. Phase 3, activate backups. The war wasn't over, but America had delivered a message carved into steel and smoke. By morning, Operation Nightvale was already being called a defining moment in the fight against human trafficking. Federal forces, military precision, one mission, one creed. No victims left behind.
At Rescue Hill, we believe that what happens after an operation is just as important as what happens during an operation. We are committed to helping survivors stabilize, navigate their next steps, and begin the long, personal work of healing.
And even though the battle isn't finished, one truth couldn't be denied. You can attack America's heart, but you will never break its will. Because when Americans stand together, darkness doesn't stand a chance. If you believe every innocent life deserves protection, hit that like button. Subscribe so you never miss the next chapter in this fight for justice.